Truth or Fate, we welcome to the big board Vedika Bahel. Great to see you, Vedika. 10 years since the wave of terror attacks hitting Paris, the deadliest that France has ever seen. Tell us about the major role that social media played on that tragic night 10 years ago.
Yes, Mark, well, I think it's fair to say social media in 2015 particularly shaped our understanding of what happened on this night 10 years ago. In many ways, it became the first point of call for people seeking information in real time, to a degree even outpacing traditional media. And we can still see those first posts on Twitter. I know it's now been renamed as X, but for the sake of this segment, I'm going to refer to the posts as tweets, as they were known then. But I think this is one of the first posts after the explosion. The first explosion took place at the Stade de France on November 13, 2015. It's made by a German user questioning what he's heard, and it is timed at 9:19 p.m., which does match the official sort of timeline of a few minutes after the timeline of what happened. Now, just a few minutes after that, we can see another post here. 9:28 p.m, another user saying that they thought they heard fireworks down by Place de la République, but could they be gunshots? Just a few minutes after that, if we have another look, we can also see this post, 9:31 p.m. This one's titled Shooting at Paris Carillon. Le Carillon, which we now know is one of the bars where a gunman opened fire. This is 9:31, and a few minutes after that, this one at 9:39, we can see this post from 2015 saying that gunshots were heard on Rue de Charonne, which is in the 11th arrondissement. And from what I've spoken to our colleagues who are working this evening, they say that many of these tweets were sort of timed at the same time that the news began to trickle in here to this newsroom, and many others, and the news began to break in traditional media. But going back to these tweets, it's estimated that over 11 million posts were made on Twitter about these attacks in just 24 hours, and over a week it had reached 20 million. But with emergency lines blocked, people waiting for news, it's clear that social media was on fire that night. People turned to social media for that news in real time. And in many ways, Mark, that social media reaction is what has, as I said, shaped the media's timeline of events of what took place on that tragic evening.
Indeed, Vedika, I can remember all too well. I was here for much of the night, of course, with my colleague Emma James, who was looking at what was coming through on social media, and between us trying to piece together what was going on, and of course at the same time keep that journalistic eye on what was true and what wasn't. And of course that adds to the challenge of what was the most difficult of nights to do our job. As well as sharing the latest information, social networks also gave many people, Vedika, a space to share and create safety measures. Tell us about that.
That is correct. The hashtag Porte Ouverte, it became one of the most prominent trending online hashtags that evening. It was shared over about a million times within 10 hours of this taking place. It literally means open door in French, and it literally allowed Parisians on social networks to not only just express their support, but also literally allow shelter, to allow offers for shelter to roll in. We can see a few examples here. People literally saying, I have an open door, this is where I am, and you can come here to find safety if you are unsafe. Now, another thing I want to talk about is Facebook, which also played a part that night. It was very popular in 2015. It was a very popular app. It was probably the most in vogue at the time, you could say. And the year before these attacks took place, Facebook had rolled out something called the safety feature, safety check. It was designed to help users update their loved ones where they are in natural disasters. And Facebook activated this feature during the Paris attacks. And it was the first time that it was enabled during a terror attack. And many people used this. I think the number is 5 million people used this that evening to alert their friends and family that they were safe. Now, just a little bit of background, Facebook did get some criticism for this because the day before the attacks took place in Paris, there was a deadly bombing in Beirut, and Facebook didn't use this feature for that. And that's actually what pushed this backlash during that event, is what pushed Facebook to change their policy for terror attacks and for natural disasters in general. But it was very heavily used that evening on the 13th of November.
And social networks also triggering a social solidarity. Give us more about what that meant and how that manifested itself that night.
That's right. There was an outpouring of solidarity, empathy and support online. There was many elements and messages that went viral. One of them was hashtag Pray for Paris. It was everywhere on social media at the time. It became a global message, a global mood, you could say. And in just a few hours, there was over 7 million tweets about this across social media. Now, another very popular artwork was this one. It was this image by French artist Jean Julien. He intertwined the peace symbol with the Eiffel Tower, and this was shared shared millions of times across social networks. It's even used, even today, we've seen it in many of the commemorations 10 years on, and it's used to honor victims and survivors to this day. I also want to talk about this logo, Je suis Paris, which was reworked from Je suis Charlie to commemorate the victims. And we also have Je suis en terrasse, which was seen as was posted by internet users often with a selfie on a cafe as a defiant gesture that we will continue to go out in cafes in the face of terrorism. Now, lastly, I want to show you this example also on Facebook as well. I remember this was very popular at the time as well. Facebook rolled out a feature to overlay your profile picture at the time with the French flag as well and show your support. And this had hundreds of thousands of people as well that took part. But overall, Mark, these are just a few examples of how social media was used 10 years ago on this fateful evening and how it's really shaped our understanding of this tragedy, not just from the start, but all the way to the end.